All right, it is Thursday. Thank God it's Thursday.
Thank God it's Thursday.
Thank God it's Thursday. We're coming up on our first holiday break next week soon. But in the meantime, you're already covered with tinsel. Here we are.
I thought it was Christmas.
Yeah, we're ready to
guys.
go. The tree is up.
No warning.
Sara Haines is here.
I am the tree.
All right, let's get to it because there's always headlines about this show, and it's never where you think it's going to be. You know,
No,
you think
it's
we're talking,
so random.
You know, we're talking politics. I make sure we have all our details right. We got to make sure that we're talking about really controversial issues, and then headlines everywhere about the mentalist that we had on.
Yes,
which is the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. But something happened, so we touched on it today. But let's talk about what happened in Tuesday's show with the mentalist Oz Perlman. Your moment with him was what made a slew of headlines.
Yeah.
And let's walk through it first for those that didn't see it. So first off, here's him in his own words describing what he does.
I am not a mind reader. I am not a psychic. I don't have supernatural powers. I am not teaching you to be psychic in this book. It's all about habits for success. I've learned how to read people more effectively, how to navigate how people think, and use that to my advantage, to entertain you, to create deeper bonds and connections.
Then he asked you all to imagine you were at your own birthday party and you were to close your eyes and see the people that you care about, and one person walks up to you and gives you a big hug. We got to Anna. Here's what happened.
You looked up. It's a guy. Is this a guy you were seeing?
Yes.
And then think of his first name and count the letters to yourself. Instant nod. If the name was long, it's a struggle. If the name is instant, you don't count, you know. It was 3 or 4 letters. I don't know.
What's the name?
Watch.
We
It's
only
not
have
the name.
3 minutes. What's the name?
Ken. It's a 3-letter name, isn't it? It's Ken.
Oh, wow.
Am I right?
Yes.
Who is Ken?
Ken what?
And it says what? G, it's either G or J. G. Gorin. Ken Gorin?
And when is his birthday?
Forget his birthday. Forget it.
He then asks you to think of a random PIN code.
Well, I think he asked all of us to think of a PIN code.
Yes, he did. You're right. You're right. And he got it right, and it was Anna's friend's birthday. This is when things go off the rails, and he says your actual bank PIN number on the air. Yeah. It made you really upset.
Yes.
Understandably.
Well, I don't think people understand why I was upset.
Tell me from your point of view what happened.
Okay. So the backstory that people don't know is we were asked to meet with him like 40 minutes prior to him being on the show.
Yes.
And by the way, in all of my years on any TV show, when a magician, an illusionist, a mentalist, whatever the people are, we've never had to pre-meet with anyone.
Well, it's usually part of their shtick. It's like, I've never met you before. We've never seen each other.
Which is good.
We've
and
never,
he said in this meeting, kind of like, we're going to play like you came up with this. So it is funny that on the air he said, come up with a pin, and then just turned to me because I was the one that in a room he asked to do these math equations. He said, well, we're not going to use your real pin, obviously. And then he repeated that a couple of times. It's not like we're going to use your real pin. So we're coming up with like a fake pin. So he kept reassuring me that I'm trying to come up with, I think he used the word pin because it's a 4-digit number. There was a trick involved and he had to get me to a 4-digit number. So he kept saying, well, again, this isn't your real pin. We're going to get to, but I had to, he made us get our phones, all of us, everyone that came in. He said, do you have your phone? Can you go get it?
Yeah.
So we had to type things into our phone. I don't know if that's where the trick is or what, but there's a point where he says, you have a number now, like subtract your real pin, but we're getting to your fake pin. We're going to be creating this fake pin. And he kept reassuring me. And when we're on TV with these people, we have to play where they're subjects and, it's a trust thing. When we went out and he read the numbers, it was an impressive routine that he had been working on for 40 minutes or whatever. But the part that got me was my reaction, and I shouldn't be swearing on the air, was not, oh my gosh, you're such a good mentalist or whatever. It was, you reassured me 3 or 4 times in that room, we're not going to use your real PIN number. We're coming up with an imaginary one. I have never felt so violated on air, someone meeting with you and saying over and over, like, play with me here and kind of like, I'll protect you.
So what people didn't see is it was more than just the shock of it. It was deliberately countering something he had said earlier.
Yeah, and we're playing along. He said, pretty much, we're not mentioning we all met with him, like he's like, it's like you came up with it on the air. Like he's greasing the wheels.
Right.
And yet I was willing to come meet with him like everyone else had to meet with him and write things down and do stuff. So he'd been working with whatever he was working with for 40 minutes. And then he did that, and he said later, I was upset because I've never had someone say, we're not going to say that, and then say that on air. And in a time where we're targets for a lot of things, our private lives, we're guarded, we're protected here on our show. To have someone do something like that, that's so private. Like, we hear about bank fraud and stolen identities, and there are commercials. We do sales segments about how to protect yourself. Don't ever repeat your PIN. And then a guest comes on our show and repeats my PIN after reassuring he wouldn't. So I was more not, you're so great. I was like, why would you do that? He never apologized. He kind of zipped out of here. And then later in the day, I was kind of waiting to see if he'd reach out on social or something to kind of say, hey, that was a poor move to get clicks. I'm sorry about that. He never did. And then he tried to collaborate on a post with my reaction to make him look like this great, whatever he is. But my reaction was, oh my God, you just said the thing you wouldn't say. So as funny as it is to people that don't know the backstory.
See, I think because you're professional, despite the cursing, which was not professional.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I think you were trying not to show how shaken you were in a negative way on the air, to the point where I even missed it initially, to be honest with you. I knew you were upset, but I didn't realize how bad it was, and I apologize. Because there are a lot of the reaction, I'm just going to be honest, there are a lot of people out there that are saying, just change your PIN number and move on. And to be honest with you, in the moment, my thought was, oh, that wasn't a good move. He shouldn't have done that, but it'll be all right. She'll just change your PIN number. I didn't really think about the fact that these numbers are more than that. People generally use things that are important.
Well,
they reuse them.
It was like,
and I didn't know that he had asked it beforehand.
He had asked me over and over, reassuring me, play with me here.
Right.
We're in a room. We're not going to tell anyone we met 40 minutes earlier. Can you? And I was willing to concede. Okay, I'll do this exercise with you. And he reassured me. Then he did that, and then he tried to post it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like someone that will sell a human violation for clickbait. He's now he's posting like crazy every article about him, and he thinks it's great. But that was really, I've literally in all my years in television never been violated where someone lied. The PIN numbers, ultimately it's annoying, but it's easy to change. He knew what he did because he reassured me multiple times before we went out, we would not use your real PIN number.
Mm-hmm.
So it was on his mind for 40 minutes. And then he's like, oh, sorry, it blurted. No,
now, to be clear, you never actually told him your PIN number.
I didn't tell him my PIN number, but we're using the math and whatever his trick is of watching what we type. I mean, because no one, again, if you're doing something that is mind reading, which he doesn't do, he said I don't do it.
Right, he doesn't have powers.
You don't need to write it down. And like with Anna, she was writing it on a note card. He goes, no, use a Post-it. Like he had to do some pre-work to get
there's obviously a method here.
It's a trick of sorts, and he knows that.
Right.
But he worked on that trick for 40 minutes, and I conceded my time and my trust to play along after being reassured multiple times I was okay. We would never use your real private information. And then he goes out, and for a laugh, he drops by the way, he could have jotted it down and said, is this your real PIN number?
Yeah.
My reaction would have been not the same, but it would have been impressed, happy, and oh my gosh, that's so impressive.
And also, honestly, until that moment, it was a great segment, and it wasn't necessary to do that.
It wasn't necessary, and that's why, have enough faith in your stuff. You don't need kind of to betray people, especially because I'm sure that's what shows are about. You're trusting people,
Right.
We have so many amazing people. We've had people like this for years and years and years. I've never been treated that way. And by the way, still no apology, no. And again, it's not about the PIN number. People saying just change it and, move on. It's the betrayal of we put ourselves out there every day on this show. And when it comes to our private lives, which go beyond us, there are partners, there are kids. It was a complete dismissal of all of that for a click.
Would you accept it if he apologized publicly or privately now?
Well, I would hope it would be... I would hope he would think to do that, but I don't think he will. I mean, it would still mean a lot if he would.
Yeah.
Owning what he did and that he knows he tricked me a little bit with that.
Mm-hmm. Because
even sitting up in there and saying, everyone think of your PIN numbers, I knew I was the next to be called on because I was the one that was told about the PIN. So he's making it look like I'm doing this in real time, but He'd met with all of us 40
Right.
minutes early, you know. So he put me in a situation that goes beyond that moment, but
Yeah.
for him, it didn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
And that's the part that kind of tells me more about his character. He's very talented. I'm sure he does well for himself. It's sad that he would do this.
Well, I hope you hear from him. I think you might. I think.
And I would hope anyone listening, don't ever give private information. No, I didn't give it to him, but don't ever even dabble in this, because he's now wavered my trust, even though I had 10 years prior to him of this stuff. Now I'm like bamboozled.
Well, before we move on from this, I'm just going to look in the camera and think. You know what to do. Okay, let's move on to some other things. Something I've always wanted to talk to you about.
Yes.
Because this came up in season 3 premiere of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's emotional cheating. I feel like you and I have had conversations about this. It's been around different topics we had, and you feel like you're very run-of-the-mill, as most women are in here, and I'm not sure about that. But on this show, one of the women on the show admitted to her husband that she had an emotional affair with another man, which of course is a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you think having an emotional affair is worse than a physical one?
Absolutely.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, Max, I can only speak to Max and I are very open about the differences biologically between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
What he needs and what I need do not always align. And that's the challenge of a long-term relationship for probably everyone, but specifically a heterosexual couple. Men's needs are very physical, biological, instantaneous, all those things. A woman has a more emotional attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So if Max were to come to me and say he fell in love with someone, it's not just about forgiveness. I don't know if I could move on. It's not about, I can't forgive you someday. I can't be with you.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my thing. Like, I cannot be with you if you've fallen in love with someone else, for as much as the nurturing of what love takes. You've bailed. If there were to be, I'm not giving a hall pass. I'm not giving a green light. I'm not saying this would be okay. But if Max were to come to me and say he had something happened and it was just physical, just, you know, one time, whatever, not with someone he works with or is around, but like a one-off, that to me is biological. It's a physical need. And arguably, and I think I'm speaking for women everywhere, it's not just an equal line of needs. We also go through phases where I've been pregnant. I've had we have young kids. The mother's attachment in their body and the changes is very different from the dad's. And there are times where I've even said to Max, the kids are getting older, but switching between my wife, I'm a sexy wife hat, and I'm a mama hat, it can be abrupt. If you hear a noise, if you hear your child, your instinctive maternal things kick in. And it's very hard to then emotionally get there with my husband on anything we're trying to figure out. A man is kind of, in my mind, one note. He can be a dad, but he can go into the other room and
be a daddy.
And yeah. That was so good and so bad
wrong
at the same time.
Yeah.
But you're right. And you can chime in here, but I feel like...
Oh, I don't think I will.
No. But I mean, like, you don't... It is what it is. It's you need it. It's visual. It's now. It's fine. Women have a runway. It's why we talked about the other day about fantasy books and shows, how they can work. Max jokes, I hope Bridgerton comes out with a new season, because when I'm watching that, it's doing the foreplay for me. And then I turn over, I'm like, hey, boo-boo. But that's my point here, is the physical...
Max is going to be like filming Bridgerton episodes in your basement, bootleg ones.
He'll look at me sometimes and he'll go like this, what are you reading? What are you watching? Because he knows the difference.
Fascinating.
But for me...
This explains why my wife's watching true crime all the time. And yeah, all right.
But I think that's the thing, is we're very open about those challenges and needs. And we've been that way since we dated. I remember asking him, he said, you don't understand what it's like to be a man, and how many times in a day. It's not a cohesive sentence or something, but he goes, sex or sexual stuff goes through our heads all the time. We walked from our Brooklyn apartment to the subway. I said, okay, how many times? He's like, you really want to know? He goes, probably 19. I said, 19 times? He's like, it's weird. I can't even explain it. But like, yes, that's how I think. And I was like, we are in different worlds, boo-boo.
Have him work at The View for 10 years and all that'll stop.
It'll take it all out of you.
All right, so I want to preface this by saying, I'm going to look at the camera and speak to both my wife and any mentalists that are listening. I have never had an emotional affair. I have never had a physical affair. However, the thing for me that is interesting about this is, as far as like what's worse and what's more of a sin, you can control you make a physical decision to have a physical affair.
Yeah.
Emotional affairs can develop without your control.
No, that's
Explain that to
That's
me.
a cop out, because if you're starting to have, an affair and you're a married person,
Yes.
so whether the other person is married or not, you're aware of that detail. There's got to be a point where just flirting, having fun crosses over a little bit and it starts to become confiding and intimate. You're making choices to reach towards that person.
But don't you do that in friendships anyway? Like you and I are friends.
Yeah, but have I ever, if this is going to be weird actually, given you the indication that, maybe we could have more? I've also had very intimate conversations about fights I've had.
Sure.
I've come to you, but did it ever feel
No.
like, and that's what I mean, like,
Right.
you have to have given someone, not only am I confiding in you, but now I'm turning to you and maybe I'm calling you a little more or texting you or checking in on you. You're making a choice at some point as a married person to kind of show your hand if they're willing. Like, hey.
Well, so I have female friendships. I have close female friendships. And I think what's important to my wife and important to me is that I never do anything emotionally or otherwise that is disrespectful to my marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so in the moment of a slip up, emotionally, I think you are betraying and embarrassing the marriage, because unless your partner, whereas like, oh, this is a good example.
Yeah.
So whereas sexually, I may not always be available when my husband wants it, because did you hear the subway reference? 19 times on the way to the subway. We're not
Sure.
going to be able to live up
What
to that.
block were you walking down?
Bedford.
Okay.
It's a hot block, clearly, or a
Clearly.
I'll take anything block. Who knows? But sexually, I am always emotionally available to my husband.
Mm-hmm.
So if he has left me emotionally, it was a choice.
Oh.
So that's where I would distinguish
That's
the
interesting.
two. Yeah.
Okay. This is good stuff to know. I think I'm learning things.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. This is good for any men listening. All right. This does actually relate to something that happened this week on an episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Bronwyn caught her husband looking at photos of other women, and she told him that she would be open to having an open marriage if that's what he needed. And you're not going there.
No.
No.
No. It's so there's a difference. I view marriage as a sacred thing that I have always wanted.
Yeah.
And when you make that vow to someone, you're coming in on a certain set of terms.
Right.
I'm not open to you changing those terms.
Right.
I don't mind if you want to bring it up and talk about it, fine, and I'll tell you why. But I am in no universe open to that.
The looking at photos thing is interesting to me. Like, do you care who Max follows on Instagram and things like that? I mean, I'm always careful not to, if I have someone in my life that's taking a lot of photos of themselves, I never like any of them. I maybe occasionally unfollow somebody because I'm just, the optics of it aren't great.
I've never looked at who he follows. I don't think he knows who I follow. I don't think we care, because we're very transparent in, like, I actually like to know what Max thinks. There are times we're watching things and I'm like, do you think she's hot?
Mm-hmm.
And I want him to answer honestly, because
Yeah.
I want to know. But Max is a really simple man. He likes big butts, and I cannot lie.
Wow.
So as long as, like, I'm not
I
joking.
can't deny.
Yeah, I'm not joking when I say, as long as I know I'm keeping myself curvy,
You're good.
he's fine. He just
All
like,
right.
now, yeah. So, but I
Wait.
look at men for, like, do I think they're handsome or
Sure.
they're this? It's more layered for me as a
Yeah.
woman. For him, it's just simple.
The joke with me and my wife is, whenever we're watching something like a Bridgerton or something else, I'll just lean over and say to her, "Do you think he's more attractive than I am?" When it's like whoever's like ridiculously
Yeah.
cut and everything else, and she's like, "No, honey, it's fine." And that's
Wait,
it.
I love
So-
that she even goes with that.
Yeah, no.
No, you're great. I love you.
It's good. All right, before we go, and this is a very hard pivot here, or maybe not. Tell me about your Thanksgiving plans.
Oh, you mean talking about my in-laws and family after talking about my sex-hungry husband?
Yes, sure.
No, it's great. We are hosting Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's big.
And I'm so excited because Thanksgiving is Max's favorite holiday. And this is cute. I always mention he didn't grow up with a ton of traditions.
Right.
Even down to birthdays weren't, like, my family, a birthday was sacred. He didn't have lots of traditions, but Thanksgiving was special because it wasn't about gifts. It was about gratitude, food, and family. And so he loves Thanksgiving, and he's been asking me for years. And I'm an anxious host, so I've always been like, I don't want to give away Thanksgiving.
Right, and it's stressful.
It's stressful. It's all this stuff. But, like, he said a few weeks ago, and it really landed. He's like, Sarah, can you not hear that the reason I keep asking is not because I don't see your frustration or fear of it. this means a lot to me. And like it landed. I was like, then done. I'm going to lean in and I'm going to be the best host ever.
You're emotionally available.
I'm emotionally available to you, boo-boo. So he's excited. He's getting the recipes and the stuff. And he said, we've both made compromises. I've asked the things I need. I'm going to lean in and cheer it on. So like last night we were ordering these serving platters, and I don't want him to get one moment of stress from me now knowing what it means to him. So I am going to lean in like the biggest cheerleader you've ever seen about Thanksgiving.
I like that he's a Thanksgiving stan because, frankly, there aren't enough of us left. I believe Thanksgiving is important. It is also important not to fully embrace Christmas until after Thanksgiving, in my opinion, despite the fact that my house has Christmas lights on them and the whole neighborhood's talking about us, I think. We had them up like
No, I know you
7th.
did.
Yeah.
Well, so I didn't have it decorated, but he did get a little annoyed with me. The other day I went to a local toy store, and I always like to try to buy local things. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed a couple. They had those little gels you put in the windows, and the kids are still little. They love to put the little decorating gels. So I got 3 little packs and said, you guys, I brought these home for you, so each one can take them and just decorate a few windows. They're not big. They're like this big, and there's like 6 pieces in each in the house. One went to the back, one went to the front door. It's barely noticeable. And Max is like, well, and I was like, Max, I was at a toy store having a girl date with Sandra, and I wasn't going to buy them toys because we really hammer home. Those are for special things. You earn them, or it's a birthday or Christmas. Right. But I'll buy these little decorations so they have a moment. They were giddy putting them up. And he's like, what are we doing? Skipping over Thanksgiving? I was like, honey, there's no other Christmas in this house right now. It's literally these little gels. So
it makes me annoyed because I am Mr. Christmas. Once we're in it, I am in it. But instead, now I'm Scrooge because I don't want.
You're like this. We're not there yet.
I'm waking up in the morning and they're playing Mariah Carey, and it's fine, and they're yelling, "It's time." It's not time. It's not time.
No, it's not. I will give you that. I don't mind dabbling in a couple Christmas movies because I already have.
So I refuse. They cannot watch it until after Thanksgiving.
The kids get so excited. They're like, Mama, can we sit down? So I'm okay with it. But I will not insist on bringing Christmas in the door.
I have a detailed schedule of all the Christmas specials, when they're on, when we can watch them.
Can I have that list?
You can.
I take all your cheat lists.
No, these are. I've got like 25 must-watch specials.
I love it.
It's great. Okay. All right, we'll get into it. Maybe I'll post it online. Thank you for joining me today. I mentioned yesterday, Behind the Table will be on break next week for Thanksgiving, but we will be live on The View, so join us for that. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody, and we'll see you back behind the table on December 1st. In the meantime, and I haven't been asking this enough, I need some reviews. I need some ratings on the podcast.
Come on, Bri guys. Come on, Joy Boys.
Subscribe
Come on,
to
Bears.
the YouTube channel. Give us a little love. That's what you can do when we don't have episodes next week.
Please. He needs this support,
this
encouragement, this cheerleading.
I'm emotionally available to you all.
He's a little needy and thirsty, but just sidestep that and get in there.
This is all I have.
Get in those comments.
This is all I have. Thank you, everybody.
Behind the Table is executive produced by Brian Teta. Supervising producers are Nathan Getty and Summer Shade. Associate producers are Emily Darcy and Katerina Alexopoulos, and our editor is Brian Davis. Our digital coordinator is Molly Kaiser, and director of publicity is Laurie Hogan. From ABC Audio, Trevor Hastings serves as senior producer, with director of podcast programming Josh Cohen.